Welcome to Gate TV for the latest in our Unlocking the Gate series to celebrate 125 years of this wonderful football club. I have the opportunity to speak to some legends who have donned the Margate shirt, and I'm really pleased to be joined by Bryan Clifton. Bryan, thank you so much. How does it feel to be back at Hartsdown Park?
Yeah, good.
Feels like coming home.
Very good, yeah. And I only live 5 minutes up the road.
So you're a local lad as well, and
well, no, I've lived here since I was 20. That's 62 years. But I'm still from Yorkshire. You don't leave.
Well, I was going to say your roots were up north, and you played your football at Doncaster Rovers.
Yeah.
So what was that time of your life like?
Yeah, well, I left school and we had a really good football team. Our school was, well, it was like a sports school really, athletics and cricket and football. And I played for the town team, and in those days every town had a team, you know, and they played like for the English Schools Cup and all this business. And being in Yorkshire where there's hundreds of schools, I mean, I went to a secondary school, so there's dozens and dozens. So to get in a team, it was difficult. We used to have trials in the summer, starting with about maybe 100 kids who'd all been sponsored, or the school had recommended them, and went down and down till we got to about 16 players, and they made a team out of them, and we did well then. We played in the final of the Yorkshire Cup and Yorkshire Shield or something against the bigger cities, Sheffield and Leeds and Bradford, who had twice as many schools as we had to pick from. But it was good, and when the season finished and I left school at 15, I couldn't get a league club, nobody came in, and I thought, oh God, this is what I'm going to do now. That's all I ever wanted to do, was play football. My dad was an ex-player, and I thought, what should we better do now? Then someone, I think my dad knew or got to know, ran like an academy for Wolves, but it was based in Barnsley. So I went there and I played there for about a year. Then I left there, and then I went, and I got a trial at Leeds. So I went to Leeds, I played there for about a year and a half, till I was too old to play for the under-18s. I was like 19 then, and I played for Doncaster at odd times. They like knew who I was, and they said, oh, we've got a game at so-and-so. If you turn it, you'll get a game. So I did that for a while, and then Doncaster were in as much trouble as they are now, and they organised some trial games in the midsummer. And I thought, my dad said, "Are you going to go?" I said, "No, I had enough. I think it's trial matches and whatever." Oh, he says, "Go on." He says, "You've got nothing else on." So I went, and I think they played about 4 half-hour games or something, and was like demoting people and bringing people in. And I did really well that day. I'd scored about 5 goals. And so the next week, Doncaster phoned me up and said, "Oh, we'll play you in the reserves on Saturday if you find." Yeah, I went and played in the reserves on the Saturday. Next week, I signed professional. We played in the first team on the Wednesday, and that's how it went. And then the manager, who was useless, he managed Arsenal before Doncaster, and we never saw him during the week, never there at all. And then all of a sudden, the team were going down and down. They got relegated one season, and the season I was started, they were bottom of the league again. So, and they had the same players. They were all decent players when they were young, but they weren't so young then, and they were a bit doddery. So there was about 3 or 4 of us in the reserves, and we had a decent side, but they would never pick us. And the reserve team used to play against the first team every Monday. Most clubs used to get Mondays off, you know, that was not a working day, but we didn't. And the reserves beat the first team every time. And the first team players were out shouting and swearing at each other, but they still got picked on Saturday. We were still in the reserves, And after, I don't know how many months, but quite a few, they took 3 of us out of the reserves into the first team, and it was a Wednesday game. And we beat Colchester 3-0. It's the first time they'd won for about 6 matches. And then that was a Wednesday, and on the Saturday we played Notts County, who were almost at the top of the league. And we beat them 3-0, and then the 3 of us never got another game.
How strange.
They wouldn't play youngsters. They were all too young. But I was 19, and that's how it went. And I thought, I've got to get away from here. And then we played another midweek game in the reserves. And one of the coaches, after the game was over, he said to me, "Are you in a hurry to get home?" I said, "Well, not particularly." Well, he said, "Oh, the guy must have a few words." Then it was Walter Rickett, who was manager, had just taken over as manager at Ramsgate. And it was a new league, because there's always been a Southern League, but then there was so many clubs wanting to get into it, they made it another Southern League North and the Southern League South. So we were in like South, Ramsgate, and I met this bloke, Walter, the next day, and he says, and he didn't like Southern players. He's from Lancashire. He said,
"You wanted some Northern blood."
I'm looking, he said, for some young lads like yourself. He said, "Well, we'll give it a good go." And he said, "The Southerners are too soft, you know."
Well, you were known as being this like midfield powerhouse, and obviously you made the move to Ramsgate. Yeah. How did the switch come to join Margate?
Well, I played at Ramsgate I was there 5 years, but Walter was there for like 4-ish. And then I think he was spending too much money. He was getting players all from the north, they all came down. And he went, and this other guy I can't even remember his name, who I didn't like, and I don't think he liked me either. And so I thought, oh, that's not it. So I left, just told him I was going, went back to Doncaster. And it was only there for about 3 months, and one of my mates who I was playing with at Ramsgate, he'd come to Margate, and I kept in touch with him. We had to write letters, didn't we? Nobody had a phone, and there was nothing. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I can play for this other side when the season starts shortly." And he said, "Oh, why don't I'll have a word with the manager? I'll see how he's going." And they would just gone full time then. At Margate, so I phoned the club, and then he said, "Oh, come down." The manager said, "Come down at the weekend." He said, "We'll have a chat," and so I came down, and that was it. I signed, and I was there for 6 years then.
Oh, and I believe you were originally a left back, but were you employed into the midfield? Is that right?
Well, I think when I was at Ramsgate, I was a striker really. That's where I'd always played. And I was at Ramsgate, and I think they had just a few injuries, and they had nobody to play left back. And he said, "Oh, will you play?" So I mean, I could play either side because I was like naturally 2-footed. It didn't matter where I kind of played, at the back or in midfield. And I played a few games at left back, but I didn't like it. It was not enough work, you know. There was not. It was a bit. So I left. And then I came and signed for Margate, and they played me left back for a few weeks because they lost the full back, and I did that. But and they knew I didn't like playing there, and I said, and he said, "You're not that happy, are you, playing full back?" The manager. I said, "No," I said, "I like to be in midfield really," and because I was a striker, but I was never very good when I had my back to the ball, turning and whatever. I would like the ball in front of me, so I could run, and so eventually I got moved into midfield. So I went from left back to right back, and left midfield to right midfield and centre midfield. So I played all
like a bingo call card. It was
yeah, that was it. Yeah.
So you settled into life at Hartsdown Park incredibly well. The fans warmed to you predominantly as well because of the goals that you scored, and you scored some great goals on TV. Are there any that you can recall as being extra special?
Yeah, 1 or 2. I scored a good goal when we played, I can't remember the name, it's not Romford, one of those teams. Anyway, it was the only, it must be not long before I left, because the manager, the first time, never put me in the team. I played every game, always, and I wasn't injured very often, apart from when I broke my leg. And he left me out of this particular game, and I thought, I'd never been left out. I thought, maybe he's had enough, and it was a silly game. Well, not a silly game, that's all right. So, we used to play in a floodlit league midweek. We used to have like Southern League, and in the midweek we played the floodlit league. And this particular week we were playing Deal, who were not a very good side, and then we always used to beat them. Anyway, and the manager, he had this thing about, we'd get on the pitch before the game. I mean, now they have like a workout, don't they? We used to wander around and kick the ball from here to there and have a chat on what you've been doing today. And the manager used to come out, and whoever he was leaving out of the team, you could tell straight away, because he'd got to them and put his arm around them. And you say, and he had this say, "Hello, Dux, how are you?" And I thought, well, I'd never.
That was like the curse line.
That was it, yeah. And I thought, well, I'd never been left out. And he came and he said, "How are we doing, Dux? I'm all right." Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I'm all right." Yeah. He said, no knocks from Saturday, because we used to play Monday nights here. No, I'm all right. Oh, good, yeah, that's good, yeah. He said, "Well, I thought you'd be really do with the rest." He said, "You played every game this season again." He said, "I was looking at the weekend." He said, "So I'm sure the rest will do you good." I said, "No, I don't want the rest at all." I said, "You know we're playing Deal." I said, "We'll beat them." I said, "Without much trouble." And he said, "Oh, well, the thing is, I've told the boy in the reserves that he's going to play." And he said, "I don't want to let him down." I said, "Well, play him, but not in my position." So we had a few words, and I wasn't very happy. And said, "What about?" And he said, "No, everything's there." He said. I said, "Well, what about the bonus?" I said, "We're going to beat them." I said,
"You wanted your bonus."
So I said, "Oh," he said, "Yeah, I'll give you the bonus," he said. So in the end, I didn't play. I sat next to him on the dugout there. I never spoke.
Oh,
that was all the time. Yeah.
And I loved reading about your career, and one of the stories that really put a smile on my face was there was a programme called The Big Match, and it was hosted by the Gillingham director Brian Moore, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And at the time, the late Don Reeves Leeds United star, they had the hottest shot in football, but your name got brought up because the presenter said that you deserved that title. I mean, what was that like, being called out on primetime TV?
Mickey, I got taken there. Oh,
the banter.
But what happened, I can remember it better than Peter and them, I think, because we said that, and they were doing this little thing for 2 weeks, who's got the hardest shot, because people were saying, I think there was like a spurge of goals from 40 yards and 35 yards and that, you know, and I think, so they did the 2 week thing, who is it? And everyone thought it was Lorimer. People said that was Lorimer. So when the 2 weeks was up, they were saying, yeah, Peter Lorimer is, and all the other ones close behind him who people had volunteered as the hardest shot. And then right at the end of it, the bloke said, oh, we've got an interesting one here. No, it's not Pete Lorimer, it was me, he said. And she'd put, it was the woman who'd written it in and said, yeah, if he hits the ball and the goalie gets in the way, he goes in the net as the fastest as the ball. All rubbish. And I thought, oh, I took some stick and I went going to work and all that. Oh, God almighty. It was murders.
Well, as well as your left foot, your ferocious left foot and your goals, how would you like to be remembered as a footballer in terms of your style of play?
Well, I was just always there, and I played anywhere because I was two-footed. It didn't matter. I played left side, right side, in the middle, or whatever. And I would just enjoyed playing football. I played 3 or 4 times a week if you wanted to. You know, that's when you're younger and whatever. And I was just always about. I was never left out if I was fit. The only time I got injured was when I broke my leg. So in the 6 years I was there, I played about 400 games or something. So it was a good place to be, you know, and because I came from Yorkshire, he signed several Yorkshire-born players on at the time. I mean, when I came, no, that's when I was at Ramsgate, but when I came to Margate, because the manager had played for Tottenham and West Ham, and he kept in touch with them. So whenever we were short of any players, you could always go to West Ham or Tottenham and get a bloke on loan for a few weeks, you know. But it was just a nice club to be at, you know. We all socialised, like Saturday night out after the game, we were off. And
there were good times for
it was
you.
just good, it was just good.
You mentioned your leg break, which I think might have happened in an FA Cup game in a
Yes,
derby game against Folkestone.
Yeah.
How much, upon reflection, do you think that injury had on your career?
Well, I didn't play for about 5 months, but and I was very lucky because the bloke who'd done it was about 6'3" and 15 stone. It was right over the ball. I had a hole in my shin here where a stud had gone in, and when I saw the X-rays, I had to stay in hospital for about what was it? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 5 days. I was in hospital. So because they wanted to make sure there was no infection with the hole, like it was only like a stud hole actually. And when I saw the X-rays, I had like a diagonal crack across the shin, not quite to the other side. You know, with another bit harder, it would have snapped my leg really, but it didn't. And I was fine. I was stayed in hospital for that period. And I think I was under a doctor or a surgeon at Ramsgate Hospital. Ramsgate had a hospital then. And I used to have to go down every Monday to see him. To start with, I had a plaster on the back of my leg, a back slab or something they called it, till this infection hadn't appeared. And then I went to see him every week, and they used to put a new plaster, the plaster right up to the top. And
wow.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah, sounds very uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it got to the stage where I was like coming here and trotting, running round, and not doing anything very much, just a bit of exercise. And I kept saying to this bloke, can I join in the five-a-sides, like, you know, just, he said, well, yeah, you could, but, you know, if you twist your leg or if somebody whacks you or something, give it another month. So, you know, I kept going, can I get going this, no, well, you know, if I were you, I'd give it another month, make sure, and it went on. And the club, Margate, was really struggling, because we'd got promoted the year before, and that was the Premier Southern League, like the National League now. And the next year, the season, we had a load of good players, and yet we couldn't play. We got relegated again. But the manager kept saying, when are you going to be ready? Next week, is it next week? Then I started playing five-a-sides, and I said, yeah, it's good. And then I went one particular week, and he said, yeah, I think you'll be all right now. So take it easy. So that was the Monday. So I came up here, and I said, yeah, I'm okay, I can play. He said, all right then, we'll put you in on Saturday, you'll be in on Saturday. I said, no, you're playing Ramsgate tomorrow night.
I'll play tomorrow.
I'll play tomorrow. He says, do you reckon? Because it was a bit feisty.
Yeah. Broken leg, no worries, I'm back for the derby.
That's it. So that was it. I played on the Tuesday, and I was all right. So I never missed a game then till the end of the season. But that only left me with about 20 odd games I played that year, that season. And we got relegated, but then went straight back up again the next season.
I wanted to talk actually quickly about the 1966-67 season, because you were an ever-present in that season, and obviously Margate won promotion. Was that a special season for you?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, we had a pretty good team then, and even if we'd got people injured, we'd got good cover, like, you know, for it. We'd got and we went on long runs of. I mean, down here, people used to hate coming here when the slope was on the pitch. We beat, I mean, Yeovil were the top non-league team. They were always, they did well in FA Cup, beating league teams. And when they played at home, their pitch slanted that way. You used to slant from side to side rather than down. And we beat them 7-0 one night here. And if the wind, well, the wind when it blows, always blows down the hill. And they couldn't get the ball out of the penalty area sometimes.
I can recall games in recent history where the wind and the surface has had that impact. And you've been described as a first-class clubsman here at Margate. What does it mean to you to hear that?
Well, it's just, I suppose it's nice, really, because it's a small town, Margate. Lots of people, and we used to get big gates. I mean, one season we had, I think it was 6 or 8 matches where there was over 3,000 here. And now I can't go down the town without somebody stops you. And, are you doing all right? Yeah. And my mistress is there. This, that, and the other. There you go. 10 minutes later, she says, "You didn't know that, was it?" I said, "I have no clue."
Well, you were a local hero, and I don't want to embarrass you too much, but there was a piece that I was reading about you, and it described you as one of Margate's best servants of the 60s, and it feels like that era, it was not only a very special time to play football, but almost perhaps something that's lost in the non-league game now, is that idea of dedicating yourself to a football club, dedicating yourself to a local area.
I mean, there's still 4 or 5 people still living here who played at the time, you know. They've all stayed, and it was really good. And then I left here. They didn't want me at the end of one season, and I went back to Ramsgate again then. So the first season wasn't very good, but they got like the makings of a team, but they needed a few extra bodies, I think. And I went, and we got promotion then.
I was going to say, you won promotion with Margate, you won promotion with the local rivals down the road, Ramsgate. Success followed you around in your career, didn't it?
So it was good. So if I sometimes go to Ramsgate now and watch them, but it's always the same. The people stop and chat, and you know, so it's quite never a dull moment.
No, never a dull moment, and that's a good thing to hear. And obviously, you know, my final question: we are celebrating 125 years of Margate Football Club. It's a massive achievement. What message would you give to supporters celebrating it?
Well, they've just got to keep coming, haven't they? Because once supporters stop coming, you haven't got a club, have you?
In the lifeblood.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, I don't know how some of the clubs exist still. You know, you get no gates, really. I mean, they moan here if you get, when it's 500 and that. I can remember when we used to play this floodlit league in the winter, the manager used to say it'd be like blowing a gale, pouring with rain, and you say, "Right boys, off we go." You know what it is? We don't just want to win, we want to score goals, so no messing about. Just get on with the job, score the goals, and we'll be all right. And we'd signed a centre forward on it. I think he came in October, just after the season started. John. He played for Sheffield Wednesday, and then he came to Gillingham, and I don't know what went wrong there, but he came here and he scored 5 goals in a game about 4 times. They used to call him the Bat because he came out at night better.
I love that, that's brilliant. Oh, that's amazing. Bryan, look, thank you so much for sharing some stories of your amazing career here, and it's lovely to welcome you back and to
I'll tell you about when I broke my leg. We played, when I was at Ramsgate, we played Folks in a cup game, and they were in the league above us, and it poured with rain all day. And the manager there had said, "This lot won't want to play in the rain. It's, you know, still the ball was zipping off the top of it. Ramsgate used to have a lovely pitch, and a big one, really wide. Just playing that. Anyway, we really played well. I think we beat them about 4-0 at half time, and we beat them 5-1. And we were taking the mickey a bit at the end. And this big guy, we'd got like two of their players and 3 of ours, and we were just knocking it, waiting for the ref to blow the whistle. Anyway, this big guy coming, he came lunging at me, and I saw him coming, and I got out of the way, but he got me in the top of the leg with his studs, you know. And I thought, whoa, he's a big lad. So when we played him in the FA Cup, like from Margate, not the next season, but the season after, he was still playing there. And he was a good centre half, I suppose, in his day. He used to play for Gillingham for years. And we'd only been playing a few minutes. And I played the ball up, went to get it back off someone. I saw him coming, hurtling through, and I just got there in front of him, poked it on, and he went whack straight into my leg. So when I read the thing, your things, and it said, you broke your leg. And I said, what? I didn't break my leg, I saw that great big lump with my leg.
Oh, it just gives you a glimpse into the battle of the level and the standards, and you obviously wore your heart on your sleeve in terms of your committed performances to Margate, which is why you're such a legend and held in such high esteem. So thank you so much for giving up your time, Bryan. And do make sure that you subscribe to Gate TV so you are the first to know when the latest in our Unlocking the Gate series, as we mark 125 years of this fantastic football club, drops. Until next time, take good care.